Damn, son, where'd you find this?
People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lied.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late. They cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Yo, 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 yo. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. How's everybody feeling out there? Happy Monday. I hope all is well. I hope you feeling good. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys again. If you was with me earlier this morning, thank you for tapping in. This is about to be a very, very, very busy week. You see the title. Yeah, we're about to go there. Shout out to Sid, shout out to Rob in the building. I got a clip I'm gonna run. Yeah, we gotta have a talk. We gotta have a talk. Tomorrow ain't gonna be no different. Trust me. Let me give my flowers out, my poets, my writers, content creators. If I said it already, forgive me. I'm here and there. I just got this little feature added on to StreamYard. This is kind of trippy. I ain't gonna hold you. I'm looking at two separate landscapes. I don't know how I look on your side, but yeah, we definitely about to get it in. I'm going to bring them up. I'm just waiting for them to get in the studio. But I do want to shout out everybody who has been pulling up, showing love to the channel over the last couple of weeks. Thank you for the continued support. I try to stay proactive. I'm trying to consistently keep the channel working, various topics. Yeah. Now this clip that I'm going to bring up on the big screen, it's on topic. It just goes into a different conversation, same situation, different atmosphere, right? we really are in a place right now where control and manipulation is extremely high, and the folks that are supposed to be protecting us and supposed to be looking out for our best interests, they're doing the complete opposite. This is my first time being introduced to this, but I'm not surprised whatsoever. Let me do this. I'm gonna bring this up on the big screen, and then we will go from there. Sydney, I see you. Hold on, let me bring you up. Yeah, what up?
Hello. How you doing? Sorry, I was running around doing last minute stuff for my kid when he's going to his class. Is Rob here?
He's in the studio. He hasn't cammed up yet. Yeah.
What's
There
that?
you go.
Is that not what you wanted?
Hold up. Yo.
No, bring me a diaper.
What's the word?
Hey, what's happening then?
Do you have Veterans Day off too?
Connor, salutes.
Same here.
Hey, it's party time. Till 9:30.
Right on.
See Chicago Bulls up.
I throw it on every so often. These white hats, these are the ones that's harder to keep clean, man. So I try not to wear them too much because, yeah, I thought this one was done with, but
It's exactly why I never buy white clothes, because I always buy things that I'm like, oh, I love this shirt, and then I immediately spill food on it. I'm like, why did I think I could maintain this?
it's always the white.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, look, let's jump right into it. The clip that I got here is not necessarily the one that you showed me, but I felt like they had some type of correlations to it. Seeing as how you introduced me to it, I'm gonna play this clip, and if you wouldn't mind giving us a segue into why we're actually here in the first place.
Okay.
So I'm gonna let this run. This is like a minute 40 some seconds.
Protesters aren't just some wacky craze theory after all. I just saw on the news the CEO of a group that is literally called Crowds on Demand said that he was offered $20 million to recruit demonstrators for anti-Trump protests on Thursday. So I looked into it, and they offer help for demonstrations, PR stunts, crowds for hire, rallies, fans, paparazzi, all types of things. So if you have a budget of $20,000 on up, you can make it seem like a lot more people care about something than they actually do in real life. Now, this is actually not news to people who watch certain stations. This type of thing doesn't get much coverage or just seems like it's straight up made up on others. And how interesting is that? On-demand crowds for protests. Like, think about it. If you showed up to a protest because you were genuinely mad about something and wanted to speak out, and there were 4 other people out there, you would probably just go home. In fact, if 4 people showed up to a protest, the news might not even cover it. If 400 people were out there, you might be like, all right, I knew I wasn't the only one who felt like this. But you're telling me a lot of them could just be out there because somebody dropped 50 grand to gaslight the masses? Now, this CEO says that he turned that 20 mil down because their groups don't get involved with the violence and the rioting and the lawlessness, and he didn't think it was going to make a difference anyway. But that means they were the ones who got to decide if they felt like sending a crowd was worth it.
I'm saying I'm rejecting it, not because I don't want to take the business, but because frankly, this is going to be ineffective. It's going to make us all look bad.
On the flip side, to say that everybody who speaks out about something is just a paid protester is kind of absurd. But Man, it makes you wonder how much of it is actually real. How are any of us supposed to know how people generally feel about something if you can pay to have people show up to protest and then pay to have other people show up to discredit the whole thing with violence and rioting? Like, what are we doing? If this is all just smoke and mirrors and people throwing around money, what if the country's actually a lot less divided than we think? But hey, let me know what y'all think. Like, hit these updates help and follow for more news.
All right, so I tried to find one that was as close to this as possible. Fake protesters, people being bought to pretend like they're in outrage, people pretending to be doing things that they're not really passionate about. Can you segue us into this actually?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I wanted to say is I don't really think that they were like paid off to do this in a sense that I think these people already had a mindset where they wanted to be riotous, destructive, and they took that opportunity like, cool, now I get to act in this way and get paid for it. So I don't even think it was him like incentivizing people who didn't care to care. I think people that already had this type of mindset wanted to do this. But basically the whole thing behind this is a number of politicians uncovered documentation that shows that they likely financed the insurrectionists. They covered their travel expenses, their hotel expenses, and they also paid for whatever these people were using in the process of breaking into the government building. He also was found to there's basically documentation before the event showing that he, with funding, encouraged people to riot. And this was attached directly to the Trump campaign. And so this was money that was for the purpose of getting him elected. The budget documents show that as much as $3 million was put into the January 6th rally and events related to it. It included bringing special guests and buying ads to encourage people to participate in this act. They originally were like labeled as confidential, so there was very clearly an effort to hide the whole expenditures for this whole thing. I won't get into it yet, but there is also a subsequent effort by Trump as well to pay off or compensate the January 6ers that were arrested as well. So not only did he pay for them to show up, but now he also wants to compensate them for the fact that they spent time in prison. So this is even going farther to basically reassure these individuals that they were valued members of the democracy, which is completely outrageous because obviously they were violating our Capitol. I mean, we all know that at least one person defecated on the floor, which is completely like what country do we live in? Like how is that happening in our civilized America right now? But yeah, they earmarked this budget for the purpose of getting people to protest his potential not win, because obviously this happened, or actually no, this happened after he found out that he lost to Biden. But they prepared this in advance. They also sent $1 million to Turning Point Action, which is the nonprofit group associated with Charlie Kirk. meant to encourage young conservatives to participate in grassroots activism. So there was a lot of money going towards individuals that he was pushing them to help him overturn the election. So this is a very big deal, not only because this is a very clear line to cross. It would, like, imagine if Obama did the same thing. The whole country would explode. So, and then it also goes to show the depths that this man will go to ensure his power. And it also really is a signal of how brainwashed his followers are, that they follow with that. And the irony is also not lost on me that the Republicans are the ones trying to say that these 7 to 8 million people that showed up for the No Kings movement were all funded fake protesters by George Soros, which is hilarious because they very clearly paid off their protesters. So yeah, this is a very big deal, and it definitely goes to show the depths of corruption that exist in this government right now.
Is this something that you believe is known to the public? I mean, you see things on social media all the time that I've gotten to the point to where I don't even know if it's AI generated or not. Right? This right here, it seems so like him that why would anybody be so bold and brazen as to make it that public or be that vocal about it, knowing that he's gotten people fired, he's had people canceled. You've seen what happened with a couple of news anchors. Anytime you speak on him or you speak on anything that got anything to do with him, there's always some type of backlash for it. Do you think people really believe or buy into this? Like, they really believe like this actually happened?
Listen, I gotta tread light on all that because they firing people and all that. It's no different from the old days. Back in the days, the LA riots, the Harlem riots, they have proof that it was undercover officers burning buildings, tagging, graffiti, breaking windows to start the riot. Before the January 5th, they hosed the people down so that he could speak on the square, whatever. He marched on the square, held the Bible upside down. Excuse me. Blue lives didn't matter. Sydney, you're absolutely right. I'm going to take it a little further. People got killed. Police officers got killed. Civilians got killed. They pardoned all of them. He just pardoned his homies. And what it all is right now, it's a case of hiding in plain sight. I'm going to hit you with every single distraction for you to forget that I'm a fella. And I believe wholeheartedly in second chances. Now, yeah, correct, Sydney. I believe in second chances. I believe that you have to change your behavior. You have to show a proven change in behavior that your intent is not to hurt anybody anymore. They are clearly stating that they're not going to change. And he is the talking head for over 50 million people. And I heard something the other day. I forget where the post, to where they brought the spirit back to where there is status and claiming they're set. They're a gang, and there is status to where you could be dirt poor, dead broke, but you still had skin color over everything else. You could be dead poor, flat, starving to where they'll even starve you. I never seen the food stamps cut off. I remember I used to get in the welfare line. I used to get the big cheese you had to cut with a steak knife, the powdered milk, the powdered eggs. I never thought it would get to a day where they cut the people off. And when you realize the statistics, there's more of them than us on welfare. So you starve your own people. But for that status, you would rather starve. Even as far as making a black woman, who I wasn't even wholeheartedly with, because I think the turning black to a certain extent was a ploy to get voters, because black is a state of mind. And the treatment that our culture has given people with that state of mind has not been nice or kind or fair. And that's from just about every other culture, unless they're fascinated or unless they grew up poor. But right now, it's all of these distractions and that status they can play off. You know what? I am of the other skin color, and it doesn't matter. This is how I feel. And this shows too. He just pardoned some more of his homies. Look at the people they're pardoning. I looked at this with Joe Biden right before he left. He bowed out nice and quiet. He pardoned a lot of people and that let me know that at the end of the day, they was in the same game. You know what I'm saying? So again, we're in the spot to where I was just talking to my lady a few minutes ago, to where I think they even trying to stifle the travel, because people are going to all of these different places and bringing this knowledge back. They ban the books, so now you stifle the travel, to where even though some people travel a lot, you have people that have been waiting on their first vacation 3-4 years. They about to go get up all this knowledge, and what do you do when you come back? You want more. You get hungrier for information. You get hungrier. You want to be free. So you looking at this right now, okay, we're going to stop y'all from flying, because now y'all want to feel free. Y'all want to do all this. Y'all done got too biggity. We're going to shut it down.
It's a terrible thing to see. It was different when I was younger, and you turned on the news and you ain't really know what was going on. It's different when you get older and your bills reflect it, your food reflects it, your relationships reflect it, the way that people interact with each other reflects it. I'm often befuddled by, with all of this that is happening, how is it that every single adult that has ever been in a position of influence, how they could allow somebody, not even just him, but anybody, to maneuver us in such a dangerous way, to where they could just pretty much sign off on things, have these conversations with folks from all across the world, and then execute them so meticulously in our face, and nobody seems to care whatsoever. when you say somebody is staging a protest or someone is staging a riot, I you know them flash mob little drinks that go off in the mall, you don't know you about to be a part of it. That's what I think about. Like it's hard for me to really just assume that adults would even participate in something like that. I always knew that people were getting bribed. I didn't know it was to that scale. But that's why I always felt like the people who support MAGA and all of these different platforms that pretty much crap on the little people, I always thought, do you really believe that they're on your side? Do you really believe that these people are supporting you or they're advocating for you or that any of this stuff has anything to do with bringing you out of poverty and bringing you with us? It has nothing to do with that. George Floyd, yeah, exactly. They have an agenda. They've always had an agenda. Always. And it's unfortunate because the whole time that we are all over the place, we worried about war, we worried about man versus woman, we worried about red pill content, we worried about some of the most ridiculous stuff. The whole time the government is playing in our face, arguing over things that are frivolous. The EBT snap thing, distraction. Get us to forget about Epstein, distraction. All of these hangings that's happened over the last few years, distraction. You don't hear nobody talking about any of that stuff. So when you share this with me, I'm like, oh, here we go. It's more. Now what? You got to worry about people in disguise being sent to different media for the government and this, that, and like, come on, man.
Bro, they did that with the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers didn't break no rules. Not only did they do it to the Black Panthers, they copied their whole style. That's where the welfare program was generated from. They did it with Malcolm X. They did it with Martin Luther King. So they do it with their own people. Bro, they killed Kennedy, bro. That's so crazy that they the things that he was saying was new era. They shot Abraham Lincoln. They shot what was the Teamster, the dude that had the unions popping. I forget his name. They had a whole movie about him. They disappearing their own people. So it ain't nothing to get anybody else. Is judges going missing? He just got on TV and said he hate anybody that go against him. It ain't even up for debate. They killing wardens. So, it's just, we watch all these movies, right? And when you watch the movies to a certain extent, you had to have some kind of true element to it in order to be able to tell that story, because you just can't tell them a story. But now when you're looking at the news every day, it's a real live movie. But it's more, the only thing different now is the cameras everywhere. But this been the same. It's just that we haven't got, I think So I was born in 80. I'm 45. Oh, I'm old. Old as dirt. We haven't got this kind of rhetoric. The closest I had to this rhetoric was George Bush. But we haven't got the like. I ain't even hip to like the what's his name, J. Edgar Hoover saying that the biggest threat to the country was black unity. I'm not hip to the other guys, but that's the only thing real is that he brought back that good old feeling to where you could say and halfway do what you want, and to a certain extent, you'll be supported.
I just saw Tom Powell Jr. on YouTube. I enjoy his comedy because he usually takes videos of politicians, supporters, stuff like that. And usually it's from the perspective of people that aren't making any sense, but he does also show people that are making sense. And he just recently was talking about, it's crazy how this is so bad of an administration that it makes George Bush Jr. look normal. Like he was putting up some quotes from or clips of a George Bush speech and talking about immigrants, and it sounded so sensible. And I remember when I was little at the time, but I still remember seeing all the people making fun of him and how much they made him sound like he was ridiculous, the dumbest president we've ever had. He was a complete bumbling idiot. And now he just seems like an average guy. It's crazy how far we've sunk to have that type of person be seen as normal now. It also is it's I don't know, it's kind of wild because it's so blatant in front of our faces now. As some people in the chat have been saying, the money is owned by them. The politics is owned by money. These aren't just politicians anymore. These are corporations disguised as politicians. As I keep telling people, Trump is not the problem. Trump is the pimple on the mouth of the alligator. And the alligator are these corporate ties that have had their hands in the government for decades. Project 2025 is not new. They've been planning Project 2025 under different names since the 1970s. Project 2025 in a different name was part of Reaganomics. They just didn't manage to get a lot of that through because there was a lot more pushback at the time. But this is something that this is not a politician thing. This is a rich people thing. This is the people that own it all, own all the land, own all the resources, own all the money. They are trying to make it so they can enrich themselves while taking everything from us. That whole quote of "we will have nothing and be happy." That is exactly what they want. That's also why they want to have a universal income. They don't want us to have healthcare. They don't want us to have access to housing. They don't want us to have proper access to food, because it makes it easy to control people when you have everything, and we have to be dependent on them for everything. This is why in schools they've taken out subjects. They no longer teach people stuff. Like in school, they used to teach people how to garden. They used to teach people how to woodwork, how to do electrical stuff, how to do plumbing. Like they had programs for high schoolers to teach them blue collar careers, and they don't have that anymore. They're also dumbing down history. They're dumbing down science. Kids nowadays, high schoolers, can't read, can't do math. This is all part of their plan. I mean, even if you look at the past, in the 1930s, 20s, a certain person with an H at the front of his name, his first term, he went after the schools. He started modifying the curriculum. He started his own schools to teach kids, to raise them into a certain ideology. And this is the exact same playbook that these people are doing. They're modifying our infrastructure. They're modifying our school systems. They're modifying how they talk to us. They're trying to silence the press, silence our ability to read and protest and talk openly, because they know if they can mask everything they're doing, if they can control the narrative, if they can convert the younger generations to these whatever bigoted types of individuals that they want them to be. That's why you have all this Turning Point America stuff, because they're going for the high school and college students, because they know they're young enough that it's easy to manipulate them to believe in a certain thing. They haven't had enough life experience to understand what things can actually be like. They're not old enough to understand the depth of the atrocities past governments have done on people in situations like the Holocaust and other forms of genocide that have existed across the world. So this is a whole, as I say, this is not just Trump. This goes far, far deeper. This goes into every realm of the United States. It goes into our housing. It goes into our schools. It goes into our whole economic system. Like, there's a reason why they plan cities to be car centric, because it makes us dependent on our cars, and they don't have to provide systems like buses and trains and stuff like that it psychologically it connects people. When you have to take public transportation, it allows you to actually see how the world is. But when you're kind of in your little car, it's kind of like your own little bubble. There's a whole research on it that I read back when I was going for my master's program, of how the car-centric cities actually affect our psychology. There's a quote that I really love from, I think it was from Europe. I forgot who said it though. It was, equality is not everybody being able to have access to cars. Equality is when poor and millionaires alike take the bus. And this is the type of world that they're trying to keep us from, because when we have more of a socialized system, God forbid socialism, we have the ability to work together. By forcing us apart into the rich and the poor, and to also segregate us ideologically into different demographics, it allows us to not work together anymore, because then we're infighting. We're fighting with each other. We're trying to get certain groups out of the country. And as Rob and Deep said, it's a distraction. This is exactly why they're making us fight over immigration. They're making us fight over LGBT rights. They're making us fight over women's rights, because it's a distraction. It keeps us from focusing on the actual villains, these people that are tearing apart our democracy from behind the scenes. And I always like to joke that what we're seeing right now happening to the White House is a metaphor for what's happening to our entire system right now.
It's all greed. It's all greed, ego, pride, and about sustainability. Cut through the brass taxes and the technical terms, because I don't know all of them. For me, all it comes down to is the rich versus the poor. You either have it or you don't have it. There is no in-betweens. People who think that these folks are on their side, you're not their friends. You're not their homies. You're not their buddies. You're not going to the barbecues. You can go out here and spread all this hate. You can go out here and you can protest and you can advocate for every single little thing that they got going on. At the end of the day, you are being used just like the rest of us are being used. I see you in the studio. Hold on. Rob, you wanted to say something before?
No, pull up. Yo, I'm geeked. Yo, shout out to everybody viewing right now. I see y'all turn. Whether you agree or disagree, we can agree to disagree. It's all right. I'm with you.
This is the most action I've seen in the chat in a long time. This is cool.
Yeah. It's popping now. But now while he loading up, This is nothing different. There's two things that I want to discuss real quick before you get busy. First, when you look at the real history of the Constitution, it was an agreement made by business owners, wealthy land owners. It did not include anybody. When you look at the way they wrote it, it definitely did not include people of color. Even when people of color were included, they still put the prison amendments in there and all of that to make sure that there was a way. We look at the war for independence. People of color fought in that. They got treated wrong. The Civil War, they fought in that, helped them win. They got treated wrong. World War I, same thing. World War II, same thing. Vietnam, same thing. The Cold War, same thing. People of color helped the whole time. Poor people helped the whole time. They still got the bad end of the stick. Color or not, at the end of the day, we know one thing. When it comes to certain offices, you probably won't get in because you're not blonde hair, blue eye. But then you definitely won't get in if you don't have a certain amount of resources. The second thing that I go to that's still super effective is the Bible and the Quran, because I'm looking at people in the Middle East or whatever. They're doing their thing. They're praying, and they're still struggling. And with the Bible, it's still a struggle because at the end of the day, we've been so programmed, and we still have these traditions that we can't mobilize against it. And now with the social media, people desensitized. We can look at each other and say, hey, we know what's going on. I know what's going on. But at the end of the day, fight it? No. Especially like you said, Sydney, when you are dependent on them to take care of your family, pay your bills. They come in every 30 days, whether you like it or not. Don't be in debt. So it's just advanced more. It's the same thing to me, but it's more advanced now because everybody has a camera. So everybody can put their 2 cents. Everybody could be present. Everybody could have their little say. So again, that increases the status, right? Because you could know something wrong or whatever, but the thing with people is they don't do nothing until it happens to them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, it ain't happened to me. But when it comes to your doorstep, then you be active about it. Or then if you have mixed children and your children is being affected or whatever, then you have to get involved. Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce your name, fam. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you good.
Cool, man, cool. It's D Lightning Z. It's just a moniker on, a TV show, and it's my screen name. So, can you guys hear me okay? Sorry about the dark screen.
You good. You good. Appreciate you for pulling up.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that things are getting to a place now in our society where it's almost impossible not to be involved with what's going on, on the political side of things, even if you don't want to be political. There's a lot of good points that I heard. I think that there's a lot of room for growth, though. So in the comments, like I'm seeing that people are, saying it's not a racist thing or it's not, a class warfare with the rich and the poor. And I'd like to say that it's definitely all of those things, but not to the degree that I believe people want to take it to. So, for example, when you look at it as, and I'm speaking as an immigrant for the record, I'm educated and I have white skin tone, but I immigrated to this country. So when I look at it from the perspective of, well, it's the white people keeping black people down, or people of color, Mexicans, Cubans, Puerto Ricans, or whatever the case is, what that ends up doing is it does radicalize these minority groups, and that radicalization helps radicalize their opposition, and it creates this non-ending victim mentality on both sides that keeps you guys busy fighting each other when it has nothing to do with whether you're black or Mexican or white or from Germany or whatever the case is. But that's the narrative. The narrative is, let's, create this party where the Democrats feel like they're fighting this, this racial war, and that's not even the case. I mean, I've grown up with black friends. I've grown up with, Puerto Rican friends. I've dated people from all different types of races. So for me, when I look at it from a broad scope, it really dumbs down the argument, and that's what's happening. That's what's by design. The removal of your focus from how to create an actual better society is limited on, okay, well, you're an illegal immigrant. Well, we got to kick you out of here because you're an illegal immigrant. Or, you're a white supremacist, so we're going to band together and we're going to go after you because you're a white supremacist. That's all a distraction. Somebody in the comments section said something about how it's kind of lazy to call it rich people versus poor people, because not all rich people are bad. And I agree with that. You can be wealthy. However, we're not talking about that kind of wealth. There is wealth that is just ungodly on so many different levels, right? And we all know this. Like, we all know that there is a degree of wealth that is so cancerous to our society that you would be blind not to pay attention to it. These cell phones that we have, that comes off of the backs of Africans that are in low income nations making $4 a day drinking STD infested water day in and day out. And yet to them, we're the oppressors, right? So it's really beyond Trump. It's way beyond Trump. It's way beyond the Republican side. It's way beyond the Democratic side. There is a cancer in the human race right now, and it's this materialistic greed that has manifested itself in people like Trump. And we all look at somebody to point the finger at and say, well, you're the problem. He's just a man. He's not a problem. He's not the reason for all the problems that existed 30 years ago, but they were the exact same problems. He wasn't at fault for the great financial crisis in 2008, but yet that happened. $2 trillion disappeared from the economy. Suicide rates ticked up. People lost their pensions and their 401ks, and we bailed them all out. He wasn't at the behest of that, but yet we turned a blind eye to all of the people that did do stuff like that. So that's the point. Focusing so much on Trump is basically the design. He is the patsy. He is the martyr who's going to go up there and look like the greedy, tyrannical asshole, while everybody is fighting for scraps. While institutions purchase homes, single family homes, and price you out of the market, price your future generations out of the market to purchase a home. You're going to be working 2 or 3 jobs. Your grandkids are going to be working 4 jobs, maybe 80-hour weeks, just to be able to put rent on their table. The way that this is going, while being forced to live off of the food banks that everybody is complaining about right now. The problem is way deeper than race, and it's way deeper than class warfare. There's some real evil in our society right now, and it's not just one man at all. That's all I wanted to say.
I agree, and I appreciate your feedback. And like with these type of discussions, you have to be as neutral as possible. I would never pretend to know more than I actually do, because just like you and a number of people in the chat, you've all expressed different views on what's happening here. I think that if we really get to the core of it, this is just human nature, right? If we don't agree on anything else, what we're experiencing is the manifestation of human nature. You can't just pretend that just because a person has a specific position of power that they're devoid of the potential to be dangerous or reckless or passionate or manipulative or controlling or greedy. You see it in your house, you see it in your neighbors, you see it up and down the street, you see it around the corner, you see it in the stores, you see it in business, you see it in romance, is everywhere. The portion where the person said that this isn't about money or a specific group of people being wealthy, because not all of them are evil. I agree. I actually concede to a lot of points that were made here between everybody collectively. My position has nothing to do with necessarily rich versus poor. It's more or less about people who get a taste of a lifestyle that they don't want to get rid of, and they want to maintain it by all means necessary. You have a generation that precedes you that you want to make sure they live comfortably when you pass along. You have people that from generation to generation they passed these ideologies on to you, and you're pretty much taking over where they left off, and they want to keep everything within their system, within their group. I said it a few streams back that everybody that sits in these seats, they're either related to each other or they are friends of someone. None of them are random people off of the street. They're handpicked specifically to do a job and to maintain that job. And I'm not saying all of them are evil. I'm not even saying that the entire system is corrupt. What I am saying is eventually, I believe a lot of them just came into it wanting to change the world and they wanted to do right by the people. Eventually, that wickedness rubbed off on them. I'm a I'm a spiritual person. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe that Satan has made his way through us in the United States of America, so much to the point to where people don't believe he exists. They don't even believe that he has any type of influence on anything remotely close to what we are seeing right now. And it's unfortunate. It's very sad when you can see the changes. You can see how much they are physically telling you, look, this is what we're doing. We're trying to see how y'all going to respond to it. Do you agree with our laws? Do you agree with our establishments? Do you agree with this? Do you agree with that? Well, you're not really showing me that you are concerned or you care too much about it. So if you don't care that much about it, then we'll just proceed with doing what we're doing. And before I yield the mic, lack of education on this stuff is another component too. Like, I'll be the first one to tell you, I do not invest in politics 1000%. I don't. But I understand humans. I understand nature. I understand there are people who will do some of the most egregious things to maintain status. And politics is just a part of it. It's definitely bigger than Trump. It's always been bigger than Trump. He's just another person that is in that space representing a bunch of people who feel the exact same way he does, and probably even more. I yield the mic.
There's so much to say. Yeah. What was I going to say? As we kind of all have touched on, this is not something that we want to kind of split ourselves off from. Like I always say on social media, one of the things that I keep reiterating is we cannot forget that it's we the people. Just as much as these government officials are trying to make it seem like they're the end all be all, they're the ones that are doing it all for us. It's us. We are the ones that are voting. We are the ones that run the system. We are the ones that choose the direction we go. And to cut off the head of a beast like this, one of the first steps that we have to take, besides marching, because obviously right now that stuff's not going to work anymore, because this is not a typical government. This is not a group of people that are going to respond to, oh, look, these people are angry. Maybe we should rethink our actions and investigate why these people are upset. They don't care. What we have to do at this point is we have to cut them off. Boycotting is one of the best options that we have right now, because as we've seen, they speak money. They don't speak any other way. They don't care if we're hungry. They don't care if we're sick. They don't care if we don't have access to the things we need. What they care about is if they have access to the things that they want, their money. They're the things that they can fund with their money. And if we cut off their heads by, not really, not metaphorically, by not funding their companies, by making it very clear with our dollar that we do not support these types of people, it'll make it a lot easier to start impacting the future in a better manner. One of the things that I also see a lot of people talking about, and I also say the same thing, is this is the time that we have to start supporting small businesses, small churches, things that are detached from the system. We have to start helping individuals, because if the more we put into companies like Target, Amazon, Oracle, and even like the gas companies, all of these places that have a monopoly on everything, obviously it's going to be very difficult because they do have their fingers in everything. But we have to hit them where it hurts. And again, their wallet is their pain. And we already kind of saw a brief example of that in the whole Jimmy Kimmel situation, because as soon as people saw, or as soon as the company saw that we were not willing to put up with that, and we all started cutting off our subscriptions, they immediately backed down and reversed their tone. And this is proof that it does work. It's just we have to do so in a very broad, sweeping manner. We, again, control the narrative as much as they don't want us to know that. Because, again, if there's a quote, again, I don't remember who said this one, but if you took away all the billionaires in the world, nothing much would change. But if you took away all of the taxpayers and all of the lower income individuals, the bottom 99%, there would be nothing. The whole system would fall apart. They wouldn't have anything to support them because they rely on us. We're the ones that grow their food. We're the ones that manufacture a lot of their products. Granted, they're trying to shift that away and use AI to replace us. But again, we are the ones that created this whole system. They rule the system, but we made it. And so we have to find ways to cut them off from their sources, because they're either going to be completely insanguinated and they're not going to be able to function anymore, because nobody will be able, like, they won't have any of their resources anymore, so their business or whatever will just fall apart. But also it'll change a lot of their minds. Like, they'll realize that if they keep this up, they won't have anything, and they'll be treated just the same as Marie Antoinette and King Louis and all of their people in a hopefully less violent way, because again, I don't encourage violence against people. I still encourage peaceful methods of getting back at these people and showing them that how unhappy we are. But we have to cut them off exactly where it hurts them. And that is their money. That is their wallets. Those are the companies that fund them, because whether we know it or not, most of these politicians are tied to companies. Most of these politicians have gotten into their positions because they were funded to, and they were supported behind the scenes by corporations that wanted them to vote certain ways. And so that is where we will have the biggest difference. Of course, we still need to show up. We still need to march. We still need to vote. We still need to speak up and teach. But really, we have to go for these companies, because those are the ones that really are controlling everything from behind the scenes. And then, of course, we also have to expose all of these politicians that are planning everything from behind the scenes and creating these movements to take over our entire government from behind the scenes. Oh, and also, that comment just made me think of that too. Know your neighbors, know your community, start getting acquainted with the people around you, start understanding what the elderly neighbors around you need. Start learning what the children and the mothers in your neighborhood need. Try and be there for the people that are actually close to you, because the more we separate ourselves from the people that we live around, the less we'll be in connection with our own local system. And a lot of the best changes happen when community members get together to understand what each other needs and works towards it together. With corporations, they don't need to do that. We need to be the ones to do that, because we know ourselves best. We know what our communities need, and rallying around our own neighbors is one of the best ways you can actually help enrich the place that you live.
Yeah.
Are we going in a rotation?
Yeah.
Okay. That answers the question.
I'm gonna say some things real quick. First, D Lightning, you probably about right. There's no such thing as race. It's a concept made up to make people think that some people want what they have. The Constitution was a deal between business people, and if you're not thinking racial, if you don't see anyone that feels like they don't see color as a part of the problem, because if it wasn't such a big thing, there wouldn't have been predatory lending. There wouldn't have been all of the mass murders, even all the way down to St. Louis, where that was the first time where Americans terrorized. They used ships. They use airplanes to bomb Black Wall Street. They kill everybody at Rosewood, Florida. They kill everybody at Seneca Valley. Even here in Florida, right here near Tallahassee, right here, there was a thriving Black population with their own banks, hospitals, and everything. They tore that down, killed the people, dispersed them, and put the government capital up. They did that from here to New York. Every thriving Black population that we ever had was taken down. Also, up until the Black Panthers, who did not break the laws. They were intimidating because they followed the police with their guns out, following the laws. They were dismantled illegally up until Malcolm X was dismantled illegally, to Martin Luther King was killed illegally, and they have the papers, which they are holding on releasing, that shows that there were Central Intelligence Agency, FBI, and all of that involved. Second, you got sharecropping, you got redlining, you got redistricting, you got welfare, which forced the Black man to move out the house. You got Planned Parenthood. You got the immigration quotas always being high on the people of color, from the Haitians to the Africans to the Jamaicans. It's always been high. They only let it up a while ago for the lighter colored people. You got then you got the Morrill land grants, which funded the HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, for years. And they was designed to teach Black people that they were second in this society. I have pictures of classes being taught at FAMU to young students how to iron, how to mop, how to speak, how to be servants, how to be elevator people. And then when they started wanting liberal education and wanting to teach engineering, they were all defunded. All you have to do is come look at both stadiums. So to look at things as not race, yeah, maybe, but at the same time, in a capitalistic society where it is about money, if you had your foot on one person's neck, then why not keep it there? Also, in order for somebody to be exceptionally rich to make $1 billion, there has to be somebody exceptionally poor. So we cannot look at that. We got to look at the Bible, which was used to teach people to be docile, to teach people to forgive their slave masters, to teach people to turn their cheek. They said, forgive, if somebody wrongs you in your town, forgive them 7 times, 7,000 times. This is all docility to where we know at the end of the day, this country has never not been at war, and anything that they have ever wanted, whether disagreement or not, they went to war for it. So we can't, we're not going to put all, we can't just put all of that to the side and say, oh, it's just human. No, this is not human nature. There was not all these wars. Back in the days, if you study history, might be a little famine or something, and some people would go raid another village, but all of the chaos, this did not start. That was purely European. When you think, all you got to do is think about movies like Braveheart, think about Joan of Arc, think about when you look at, they had the feudal system with the lords and all of this and all of that. They was doing all that. Most of the other cultures, they was chilling. There's history, there records that show when they came over here, the natives was doing great. When they went over to Africa, the Africans was doing great. When they went over to Australia, they pillaged Australia and tried to whitewash the whole thing. So we can't just go and be like, oh, it's just a few greedy people. No. The Democrats, Republicans, the further you get, they're on the same team. How you know they're on the same team? Because a lot of laws would have been changed to the point where you could get a person that's impeached, that was a felon, and is still allowed to makes me think, when I heard this term that presidents are chosen, not elected, makes me think this to ring true, because at the end of the day, if it was a regular person, they would not be in the White House right now, a convicted felon, and pardoning all of their friends, and pardoning killers. So, no, we're not going to just let that slide. All of that, they represent, no. ICE and all of that, they do not have good intent. And I will argue all day that the one thing that they are effective at is making their followers feel that no matter what, right or wrong, they are in the same game. Other than that, this is a travesty. It's falling apart. That's why they doing everything they can to grab the last little bitty straws, because the one thing that we know after a while is how long can you keep your foot on a person's neck before they lift up. And it's, when you look at it, whether you believe in the Bible, the last days or whatever, the empire after a while must fall like Rome did. And at the end of the day, you got people have gotten comfortable to where they got a little something, and they not finna go back to the old days. You can't count your friends on your hand and say, I got white friends, I got black friends. Nah, you either with it or you against it. And at the end of the day, this is what we know to be true for all the time. The people, like you said, Sydney, one thing, when the people get tired, they rise up and they make sure this stuff happens. So with the Constitution and all that, living document, this and all that, that needs to be rethought. It needs to be reconstructed in a manner that includes everybody, because majority of rule is not necessarily right. And then also the majority of money definitely doesn't make it right. It's backwards. And what this guy and his people have managed to do is take us back 100 years in plain sight, because you cannot possibly follow a convicted felon and feel like he had some good points, especially with the things that he was convicted of, because this is what I do know. At the end of the day, you wouldn't want it to be your people that he was committing felonies on.
D Lightning, you got the mic, sir.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to remember like all the different talking points across three people. So I mean, there's some very obvious truths there. There are some points I'm gonna hardcore disagree on. So Sydney, when you said that right now the best option is to do boycotting, I don't believe in that. I think that we tried that many times over and over and over and over and over again. And it's gotten to the point that it's a laughing stock now. Okay, you're gonna boycott us, we'll just buy each other's stock, we'll buy each other's shares, we'll buy each other's products. We see that happening right now. Nvidia has purchased shares in OpenAI, AMD has purchased shares in OpenAI, the government has purchased shares in Intel. They don't care about your money. It's that simple. The companies that do are the ones that are trying to play the, for what it's worth, the diplomats in the situation in a very borderline hostile environment as far as the economy goes. These companies have trillion-dollar valuations. They do not need the average person's money anymore. They're not even relying on the consumer anymore. They're buying from each other. They're getting government contracts. These are the people that run the world. They have government contracts. They don't care about our $50 a month or $100 a month. So boycotting, I don't think, is the answer. You look in history, you look back at, for example, the revolution in Cuba. What wound up happening was it wasn't the different protests. It wasn't even Castro arming small militias and trying to run down on military bases and actually being caught and in prison with his whole squadron of people massacred. It wasn't that actually fired the revolution up. What fired the revolution up was the birth of the idea. It was the birth of, okay, things are never going to get better, and we actually need to fight back. And it's going to be through whatever means necessary. But it was the idea that sparked. It was the idea that was impossible to kill. When Castro was released from prison, he was sent to Southern America, and he raised an army there. And the entire time, all he did was send messages back to Cuba, keeping the idea of the revolution alive. People would talk about the revolution. They would run to different parts of the major cities and write "Viva la Revolución," long live the revolution, in different parts of the country, so that the idea would never die. So the point is that it's not a fight back with money thing anymore. What needs to happen is an idea. An idea needs to be born that people can gravitate towards and say, this is what we want. Not money, not capitalism, not socialism, not communism, not republics, not Democrats. We're done with all of these ideas that have failed for the last 250 years. That's what needs to happen. It needs to be something that sparks the minds of mankind again, for everybody to rally behind. That's all I want to say about that. Your name is Rob. Okay, Rob. When it comes to some of the comments that you said, I feel like your heart's in the right place, but I feel like you're jaded, against your European brothers, man. Like, I get it, man. There has been race war for a long time, and we've looked at people of different skin tones sideways for years and years and years because of the transgressions of our ancestors. But some of the things that you said are patently false. The Indians were savages, man. Like, they were literally written by the Europeans as savages, because when they went to war with the Europeans, they were very brutal in their warfare. They were not pansies. They weren't pacifists. They went toe to toe with people that had probably 50 years of technological advancements on them, and they fought tooth and nail to try to protect their lands. When you look back at the Enuma Elish, which is the very first piece of mankind recorded history that we've ever uncovered, it talks very clearly about different types of warfare, and that was by no stretch of imagination European. So it goes back down to you got to try to remove the idea of race warfare. We're all human beings. We're all suffering, breathing the same air, bleeding the same kind of blood, and we're all being oppressed by the people with the same types of mentality. And again, if we can't exempt ourselves from that thought process, you will be a slave to the same game until there is no game to play anymore. And that's where everything is headed right now. We're heading in a direction where the game is about to be over, truthfully, for everyone. We might have one or two more sessions of quantitative easing that happens in our economy before the world cannot sustain it anymore. We're not even talking about hypotheticals right now. That's just pure math. It is pure math that we cannot keep pumping money into our economy every time it's on the verge of fully imploding. That doesn't make sense. Like, we can't keep doing that. So what, we're going to go and buy a bowl of ramen for $500 in 15 years, 20 years? No one can do that. Nobody wants to do that. I've talked with people who think that they can retire on Social Security, and I've talked with people that think that they can retire on $1 million in retirement in 20 years. The numbers don't say that. The numbers say that according to our current pace of inflation, you need to have $2.5 to $3 million set away in retirement just to be able to live if you were making $40,000 or $50,000 today annually. So people are really missing the plot right now. That's what they say, right? They're missing the plot. What's happening is happening very rapidly in very big ways that people are not picking up on because they're so caught up on ICE. They're so caught up on Trump. You're so caught up on all the things that don't matter. You're caught up on whether or not your neighbor is a socialist who wants you to have Medicare or wants you to have ACA insurance, or whether or not they should go get a job and work 5 jobs and work 80 hours a week and be a real American. Like, these ideas, they're not new and they're not special. So it's just really, really difficult because I don't want to think that you're, wrong. It's just that you have, in my opinion, just opinions that I feel like are holding you personally back. And I think you could do away with those and try to approach it with a reborn mind. You brought up the Bible. The Bible is important. It's a guide for mankind, but most people can't even really take the Bible seriously. And I can tell you this from many churches that I've been into. I've spoken with Christians who swear up and down that they, worship God, that they praise God, and they have scripture memorized, but they're the same people that would make you fill out 5 applications for rental assistance and then deny you because you don't fit the bill or fit the parameters of what they think a Christian should be. So it comes back down to, humanity is on a precipice right now. We have 8 billion people in the world. We have $38.17 trillion of toxic debt in our economy, and that toxic debt is literally carrying the rest of the world's toxic debt. So if there is not something that just decides to wake up, something that, like, whether it's a collective consciousness moment or a new idea that shows itself and says this is the way, or at least shines a little bit of light in the tunnel, the next couple of decades are going to be really, really, really hard. And I can't even imagine what it's going to look like for the next generation. And it's that simple. I yield the mic, I guess.
All right, right quick, Deep. I know you're finna go, City. I know you feel first of all, somebody attack Sydney, call out her name. That's not. We could agree to disagree without attacking each other here. And second, I feel you, D Lightning. I like your style. I'm gonna mention 2 words and then I'm gonna yield the mic. Chattel slavery. Right then and there, before they came, wherever you get your history from, first of all, we know that it was whitewashed. We know that Christopher Columbus, his writings were all false. he depicted the people as savages in order to get his country to go ahead and agree with the enslavement of the people. And regardless of what, between maybe the Muslims early, they had it, but nobody else had chattel slavery until a certain group of people came around. And you feel like that was nothing, then why would they bring all of this other stuff like convict leasing and all of that, and redlining and all of that, if chattel slavery wasn't a big thing? That was not any other culture's invention.
This is why I'm here. For one reason, acknowledge that we have a problem, discuss why we have this problem, and figure out how we can collectively fix the problem. That's it. If you ask me, this is all prophetic. Everything that is happening because it was going to happen one way or another regardless. If you ask me, there is no stopping it. The only way that what we're looking at is going to stop is when Christ himself comes back and governs everything. Because at the end of the day, he is the only one that can do what is necessary in this entire country, on this entire planet, without biases, without any indignation, without any mental issues, without playing any race cards. He is the only one that is going to be able to maneuver within this jurisdiction fair. It's impossible for us to do it. It is. As much as I would love to see one of us stand in the gap, I don't care about being right or wrong. I just want positive, straightforward results that help everyone. And you're not playing on one side or the other. That's all I'm concerned about. I don't see a human being on this planet doing it. And if there's any that's close, they're not going to allow him or her to sit in that position. I just don't see that happening ever. This goes beyond the flesh. This is spiritual. Church does play a major role in what we see. But that's a whole nother discussion. I'm not going to take us down that road. We got a lot here to digest. And honestly, I'm humbled by everybody's points of views. I'm humbled by the knowledge that was spread up here. Whether or not you got something out of it, I definitely did. You don't see this very often on the internet. It gets ugly, it gets nasty. People don't know how to have these type of conversations without it getting ignorant. I thought we were all in this together. I thought we all had the same common enemy. I don't see nobody here as the problem unless you side with a group that has no other intention but bad. That's it. Everybody here is getting screwed over to some extent. It might not be the way that I'm getting screwed over, but it might be the way LT is, or it might be the way that this person is. Or I wish people would stop trying to, instead of instead of trying to defend something, why don't we just be completely transparent, put everything on the table? For the most part, we either agreed with something or disagreed with something. Everybody here. But one thing we do agree with is that we are tired. And we are tired of getting ran through the mud. We are tired of being lied to. We are tired of being manipulated and controlled. Nobody should be working 3 and 4 jobs just to live and survive. That is ridiculous. Nobody should be. How do you have a Republican, a Democrat? You have this left, this rightist thing. I thought we all wanted what was right for our loved ones. I thought we wanted everybody to have health care. I thought we all wanted to get through this life as fair and as reasonable as possible without all of the headaches, this fighting back and forth stuff. That has to stop. That whole thing is designed to keep people split apart. And if you, whether or not you believe that this has any demonic influences to it or not, that's neither here nor there. But I think we all want the same. And if I'm wrong, then I don't know where y'all been at. I'm gonna let y'all go around one more time before we close out. Anything that you would like to say to the people, anything that you would like to express in terms of this particular discussion. Shout out to everybody who pulled up for the live, everybody who has been participating in the discussions. I tried to highlight everybody's stuff as much as possible, except for the ignorant posts. You don't, but yeah, I'm gonna yield the mic. We'll start with, matter of fact, let's do this. I'm gonna start with D Lightning, since he took time out of his evening, day, morning to join us. I'm gonna start with him, and then I'll go to Rob, and then I'll go to Sydney.
I appreciate that, Entropy, and I appreciate everybody that's been on the conference tonight with us. I know that some of us may be getting a little passionate during it, and I think it's just because we're, like you said, all fed up. We're all tired. 34, I thought I'd be doing something totally different with my life, and that's on me to an extent. I'm not gonna blame society for the journey, but it is really a testament to how things are when you're a child and you have these dreams, but by the time you're an adult, the magic is all gone and the world doesn't feel like a magical place anymore. It just feels like a hellish landscape, and everybody's bowing to 9 or 10 different masters, and it's just not the way that I would want the world to be. I think that we can do better as a species, white, black, yellow, green, I don't care, man. Like, that's the absolute least of my worries on so many different levels. I really don't care what kind of color you are or what language you speak, when I literally feel like I have to kill myself day in and day out to make it to the next day. So that's like I said, it's too tiring to think about that stuff. For the people in the chat, thank you for being a part of this. Whatever this was, I guess, an echo chamber or a thought chamber. I appreciate you guys, and I hope that if you took anything away from this, is that you're not alone. You're not alone in your feelings. We're here all because something gravitated us towards these thoughts, and we're all struggling. If you can, try to enlighten yourself, try to really learn what's going on. Stay away from biases. The bias is going to kill you. It's going to lead you into a direction that's not even the truth. And the only thing that I believe should survive going into the next day is the truth. Yeah, thank you guys again for your time tonight. And I hope that, we have a brighter tomorrow.
Yeah, shout out. I like that perspective. I appreciate y'all. Shout out to everybody in the chat. This is the most turn. We have been on here for a little bit now. I love it. Yeah, we could agree to disagree without being disrespectful. Because correct, like everybody, we are here for solutions that we're not just talking about. That when we get off, we can all put in action. I'm down for anything solution oriented. I'm not here to argue. We could debate all day, but I'm not. I don't have any hard feelings. I've been researching this type of stuff for the last 25 years, book after book on both sides of the spectrum. So that's what I'm going to give every time. So even if you disagree, that's cool. We could still get along as long as there's no disrespect involved. I love everybody. I want the best for everybody. It's a stressful time. And at the end of the day, the one thing we do have in common is that we all want to be able to take care of our family and live in peace and make sure that our children have a fair, equal shot at the American dream.
I also echo what you guys are saying. Usually the chat is pretty empty. Sometimes we don't really have anybody at all. So it is very refreshing to see so many people want to take part in this. And regardless of what side you're on, I also really enjoy seeing the engagement because it shows how many people are actually interested in understanding what's happening and have a vested interest in vouching for their rights and vouching for this country, regardless of whichever side you're on. I enjoy the pushback as well, because you can't know everything. No, but the more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know. And I enjoy seeing alternate perspectives because it gives me new avenues to explore. I really enjoyed Lightning's. I really enjoyed your pushback on our ideas and challenging and bringing new information to the conversation. It's always really nice to have people that contribute new information rather than just like, oh yeah, I agree with everything, and then not really having much to contribute. So I really appreciated your addition into the podcast today. As well as people in the chat. I really enjoyed seeing the conversations back and forth with each other and with us. So I really enjoyed this one, and I'm glad that we got to have this conversation. I wanted to end with a poem. For those of you that are new, I'm a writer, and I like to usually end these talks with poetry just to bring a lighter ending. Some of the conversations can be pretty deep or stressful to some people. So I wrote this one. This one's called Ling Chi, which, if you're unfamiliar with the term, Ling Chi means it means death of 1,000 cuts, or death by 1,000 cuts. And I wrote it about the American experience. I was washing dishes. I gazed out the whitewashed wooden window, roses in the breeze, yellow and red, gently waving as if to beckon, waving to me. I observed the empty blue sky and began to wonder about life as I washed the knife. I think about my kids, my spouse, my dog, my house. I can't carve out enough time for them all. Between bills and appointments and academic commitments, we sever our ties with loved ones in our lives. We cut off our ears to make peace with the noise, and we slice through the day without stopping for joy. At home, I'm not fun. But at work, I'm under the gun from my bosses, from my coworkers, from the people on the street, in our offices, in our schools, and sometimes even at the pool. No matter where we are, the threat of violence is never far. But my hands need to stay busy, riding the razor thin tightrope of time and quality as I work for the work of once three. Cutting it close, my fingertips ache. Is it knobs for my job digging in, or is it the nubs I chew them to be? No wonder why everything sucks these days. No time, no focus. We all have to work. Our bleeding red accounts hint at how close we cut it. Every week, to pay, to eat, to sleep, for our lights, for our heat. We can't just take our own axes and go chop wood or snip wicks of candles from the fat of our own steers. We can't just do what we want because we don't own everything. We are the cattle, living in the wooden shanties they allow us to live in, walking across mud flats they maintain for us, consuming products they made for us, to make us fat and sick. We chew our cud as they milk us, steal our children until we're done, and then they usher us in masses to the chute, whisked away to the butcher for our final use. We are not cut out for this life. My hand ballet taps along that absent, taunting boundary between insignificance and pain, just as we waltz on the edge with our health and our wealth and the friends that we keep on the shelf like a doll that we only display for special occasions. We don't love one another. We don't love ourselves. We use one another. We use ourselves like they're tools instead of a temple. We seek other existence other than our own, bathing in percentages and weight measures, consuming cutting-edge fashion and sharp new looks every weekend. Though TV lies, we buy and we buy, using knives to tell ourselves we are worthy. We use scars to brag that we are whole, even as others drag their blades across our pristine paint. We allow it so we can have the excuse to subject ourselves to the pain of needles and stitches. We bleed for those who hurt us. We stare straight into the eyes of the ones who stab us straight through the heart. We forgive those who backhand us, backstab us, backtrack us, letting them leave their notches like we are their tally stick of success. Instead, digging into ourselves with our nails, a tiny nick, a tick, towards the eventual end of 1,000. We chip at ourselves for others. We dare whittle ourselves away for acceptance, yet do not have the courage to pare away our excess to create our greatest form. A bright red rose petal reaches into the sky, as if plucked into a frenzy by an invisible hand for connection. I'm suddenly back in my feet, and in my hands is a knife, and on the blade is my reflection.
Slide.
Yes. Matter of fact, where is my exceptional work? Thank you for sharing that. And again, thank you to everybody pulling up tonight. This was a great show. I'm definitely going to chop this one up. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. I will be back tomorrow morning show. We got a lineup this week. So if you can show up and you can tap in with us, you're more than welcome to hang out. I thank everybody for being here. And yeah. See you guys tomorrow. Matter of fact, do me a solid before you go. Appreciate y'all. God bless.
Have a good night, everyone. I hope everything gets better for everyone.
Amen. Amen to that.
Peace out, guys.
Thanks for joining.
All right.
Peace.